Brain fog, mood swings. Sound familiar? You're not just battling those tight deadlines, but also those pesky menopause symptoms that hit you at the worst times, right? I know, I've been there too. I've had that same experience, and over two-thirds of women experience some form of brain fog. But now, 30 years later, helping women rebalance their hormones naturally, I've seen firsthand how simple, holistic strategies can get rid of brain fog, boost your energy, and help you feel like yourself again. That's why I created this brain fog masterclass, where I'm going to share with you the 6 key natural strategies to eliminate your brain fog, take control of your hormones, sharpen your focus, and reclaim your energy. We're going to also tell you how to download your free brain fog decoder tool that's going to help you figure out what the cause of your brain fog, what are different tests or symptoms that you can use to confirm the causes of your brain fog, and then what you can do holistically and naturally to reverse that process. We're also going to give you a glimpse into our holistic strategies for Eternal Youth program, of which this is one little piece. This is a health and life coaching program where you're going to learn and be able to integrate how to balance your hormones at any age, reverse your biological age, and all kinds of topics that are critical to our well-being in midlife, such as losing weight, sugar cravings, joint pain, midlife exercising, and so much more. We're going to offer you a very special pricing today, so stay tuned. Imagine if you could meet each day with the energy and vitality instead of brain fog and fatigue. You'll be surprised at how quickly you could get back to feeling yourself again. All right, let's get started. So does this sound familiar? We're talking about it, forgetting the words, focusing at work or at home, forgetting what you're doing. And like I said, it's your brain is out of order, right? That it really affects those transmitters in our brain. It affects different hormones, and we're going to get into that and show you what you can do. All right. I have been practicing as a holistic chiropractor physician for 30 years, and I now specialize in my semi-retirement working with women like you, overcoming some of the issues that I dealt with, and now have found amazing holistic solutions so that I can share it with you in our course and coaching program, and today on brain fog. So what is brain fog? These are the things that are used to explain a mental cloudiness, just not thinking so clearly, forgetfulness, a difficulty concentrating. Any of those things sound familiar to you? These are the most common symptoms, and yours could be a little bit different. You may have trouble finding certain words, you might have some forgetfulness, memory issues, difficulty focusing, similar to ADD, ADHD. And if you do have ADD, it could actually magnify some of the problems that are associated with that, and a mental sluggishness. And these things just kind of come on pretty suddenly sometimes when we have a change in our hormone system. So why is brain fog so common in midlife and prominent in women? For one thing, 2/3 of us experience this issue. And it's not just about aging. It happens to men and women, and it is definitely associated with a change in our hormone system. And declining estrogen is probably the most impactful. That affects our memory, our neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. I'm going to explain a little bit about how those work in our brain, and you'll kind of recognize and say, oh, that's what I'm experiencing. And also declining progesterone, which impacts the GABA, which is a specific type of neurotransmitter. And that one affects mood and anxiety. And that one was really prominent for me. And I found some answers for that. All right. So what happens to our brain transmitters? Let's take a look at this. The neurotransmitters, so you have serotonin. Estrogen increases serotonin production and prevents its breakdown. So when the estrogen levels go down, the serotonin levels contribute to the mood disturbances and a lot of times with depression. Okay, we didn't mention that, but depression can be one of the classic symptoms of brain fog and the reason why you're not functioning as well. And I've seen a lot of women that get very depressed with menopause, and this is one of the reasons. The dopamine is more impactful on our motivation and our pleasure centers. So it's very common with people who do drugs when their dopamine's very low. They start feeling like that nothing is pleasing to them. When they stop doing the drug, their dopamine has been depleted and they just kind of flatline, like nothing really seems interesting or fun. Things that they might have really found fun before is not as pleasurable, including sex, believe it or not. That's one of the ones. That norepinephrine, similar to dopamine, estrogen regulates that norepinephrine level. And that one is more associated with that alertness and our focus. Like with ADD, that norepinephrine may be one of the neurotransmitters that is impacted ADD. And GABA, like I was saying, manifest symptoms like anxiety. You can even have panic attacks like I did. That was pretty severe. And mood swings where you're very irritable. And 1 minute things are really good, and then just something will trigger you, and all of a sudden, you become this witch, and nobody at home wants to be near you. And you're kind of looking at yourself going, why did I just do that? That was me. So these are the 6 main causes of the depletion of the estrogen. It's not just because the shutdown of the ovaries. That's only one part of it. It also has to do with our lifestyle, which we're going to talk about each one of these, medical conditions that can exacerbate this, mental health. Like I was saying with the ADD, there are other mental health conditions and mental health medications that could impact the brain fog, hormonal imbalances, which we just talked a little bit about, inflammation and infections is another one, and medications and substance use, even overdoing coffee, like the next morning you might have brain fog, or eating too much sugar. I call that's kind of like a substance use, because when you eat a lot of sugar, you'll see in one of the slides we talk about how that causes that fluctuation and it can affect your brain function. All right, so hormonal changes, like I said, they play a major role, but what are other factors? These are some other ones. Medications, you have antihistamines that can make you drowsy and they can really impair your focus. Sedatives and sleeping pills, whether they're over the counter or prescribed the next day, could really affect your alertness and affect your brain function. Antidepressants, a lot of women that I've spoken to, when they start in perimenopause, the doctor puts them on antidepressants, thinking that is what they need, when they really need it just to do the things that we're going to discuss about improving your estrogen and progesterone and other hormone balance could completely eliminate that feeling. Blood pressure medication, not all of them, but some of them do reduce oxygen flow to your brain, and that can affect your focus and brain fog. So if you suspect that any of your medications could be a contributor, then you need to discuss that with your doctor. You can talk with a pharmacist and discuss some of your cognitive symptoms, and there may be some alternatives. So it could be a natural alternative, or perhaps just lowering the dose may help resolve some of that. Inflammation and chronic illness is another situation. So certain autoimmune conditions like lupus, multiple sclerosis, Hashimoto's, which is the thyroid, we're going to talk about that for a minute, and rheumatoid actually can impair your brain function. Long COVID, had a patient who had long COVID. She was very fatigued, like a brain fatigue, and wasn't able to really function at work. chronic gut issues can be a factor, and that is a factor mainly because you start ending up having some deficiencies that can very much affect brain function. We're going to talk about that in a minute. What you can do is do some tests and actually do a CRP, C-reactive protein, is measures the inflammation all over your body. If that comes out high, that could definitely be a cause of brain fog. Food sensitivity testing. You could be sensitive to corn or dairy or certain other foods that are causing the chronic gut issues that then lead to brain fog. So all of these things are related. Solutions are, you can do an anti-inflammatory diet. That means reducing sugar, processed foods, and anti-inflammatory oils like olive oil, fatty fish, omega-3s are all some anti-inflammatory oils. And supporting your gut health with probiotics, using digestive enzymes can help. If you know that you're not digesting your food properly, taking digestive enzymes could be helpful. And eating more fiber can make a major difference in how the inflammation is in your body. And we need about 25 grams a day. And what I have read is that most of us get maybe 10 to 15. So increasing those fiber-rich foods. We're going to give you a list of all of these to download for all the attendees. Also reducing toxic overload. So that means eating as much organic as you can. I know organic, a lot of patients say it's more expensive, and I understand that. But eating as much as you can to avoid the toxic overload, not using toxic cleaning products, detergents, all of those kind of things, keeping those at a minimum can make a difference in this inflammatory kind of condition, especially when your body's more sensitive. Now, I said a little bit about the blood sugar imbalances, and that definitely plays a role. I know when I was younger, I was a sugar addict. I'm going to admit it. And it took me a while to shift that. And I do have a whole video about that. If this is an issue for you, we can talk more about it. But your brain needs a steady level of glucose. So if you eat a high carb breakfast, especially in the morning, you're going to have crash during the day. And that's definitely going to cause changes in your brain. It also increases your insulin resistance and your potential to develop diabetes. So you need to look at your A1C level and monitor that. If it's way over, so 5.3 is optimal and below. It starts to creep up. 5.7 becomes pre-diabetic, and it just gets worse from there. We don't want it to get up to that point. So those kind of tests can give you an idea of kind of where you stand in that continuum. So the important thing is to eat balanced meals. That means you need to have enough protein, healthy fats, fiber to stabilize that glucose level. You're going to avoid excess refined carbs and sugar because those are the ones that cause the most impact on your brain and your body. And consider intermittent fasting. Let's say you eat dinner at 6, 7 o'clock. Don't have anything else to eat until the next day. And then, like I said, be sure that you're eating things that have protein and fiber in the morning to prevent that crash. All right, hormonal balance. So estrogen, we know, is crucial for brain function, for your neurotransmitters, and for memory. Hot flashes and sleep disturbances are a good indicator that you have a problem with your estrogen, that it's low, and you will probably see signs of worsening cognitive function. You might notice that at work, or if you're going back to school and you're trying to study, things like that. So Holistic Solutions is to support your hormones. You can do that naturally with phytoestrogens, which is going to be on that list that I'm going to share with you that you'll be able to download. Adaptogenic herbs like maca and ashwagandha, and practicing stress reduction techniques they have found actually improves our hormonal balance. We teach one called Heart Math. It's very powerful and has been shown to help balance our hormones, which is really pretty amazing because I don't think most people recognize that. All right, how about mental mental health. We talked a little bit about depression and anxiety and how that can impact. It can go both ways, where that can cause brain fog and brain fog can cause that. So the neurotransmitter imbalances really can impair those functions. ADHD and also chronic stress. I think midlife is a really critical time where a lot of people get burned out at work. They already start thinking, when can I retire? I see that a lot because most of the corporations, small and large, tend to really push their employees way over what they were hired to do. And they end up, I have a friend right now, he just took a new job, thought it was going to be less stress. He's working on weekends and evenings trying to get things done. So these are reasons that we start having some of this cognitive strain. So holistic strategies is practicing stress reduction techniques on a regular basis. Things like I said, like heart math, EFT tapping's another really powerful technique, meditation. You can go for therapy. That could make a big difference. And coaching, life coaching makes a huge difference in terms of learning how to deal with stresses in the here and now and not going back to the past. If you're struggling with anxiety or depression, those are important things. Also, doing brain stimulating activities. So if you're not using your brain a lot, doing some puzzles, creative hobbies, art, using your brain in kind of a different way can make a difference in improving the brain fog. All right, how about nutrient deficiencies and gut health? So low B vitamins, this is very typical in the midlife women. These are the ones that are the most deficient, low Bs, magnesium, omega-3s, and I should have put on there vitamin D. That might be somewhere else, but vitamin D is a very important one also. So we can get those through these kind of foods that I have on the chart here, the avocado, the berries, a lot of grains, nuts and seeds, salmon. I didn't realize this, but salmon is a good source of vitamin B and omega-3s, and you kind of can hit it all in one food. And you can do it vegetarian and vegan as well through nuts and seeds and vegetables and fruits and things like that. But certain B vitamins like B12 is very prominent in dairy and meat, and you're just going to have to work a lot harder to get enough of the B12. So holistic solutions is increasing those brain-friendly foods, improving your gut health, and you're going to get a complete list on our brain fog giveaway that comes with this class. So you don't need to write this stuff down. All right. So chronic stress, what does that actually do? I mean, so many people talk about feeling stressed, but how does that really affect our brain? So you can see here on this infogram, the unstressed brain, the green arrows mean that everything's firing. Things are working really well. We're making really good connections in our brain. We don't have to search our memory to figure out a word or remember someone's name or remember what we're doing. But when you're really stressed, it is amazing how you can see on this picture, the prefrontal cortex doesn't have a lot of connections. There's not as much going on. It actually has less neurotransmitters and it's not functioning as well. And they actually have measured them when people under chronic stress, their brains can actually shrink. And this happens in dementia cases when they measure if they've done any earlier studies and watching the changes in the brain, which is pretty kind of amazing. But one thing that is also pretty amazing is that you can turn that around. You can reverse that process. You can get your brain functioning well. And we have a very high, what they call plasticity, where we can regain a complete function of our brain with the proper diet, lifestyle, brain exercises, things like that. So when the cortisol level is one of the hormones that makes a big impact on how this affects the brain. And when cortisol levels are high, our memory and our focus go down. So a holistic solution, the heart math, like I said, has a big effect on this. The adaptogenic herbs, especially ashwagandha, gives pretty immediate results in reducing anxiety, depression, because it's reducing the cortisol levels. That's one of the things that it does do. And that was one of the ones that worked especially well for me. I had a patient that was actually going through some depression after the death of a parent, and I had recommended ashwagandha to her. And when she started it, she started feeling a lot better. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm going to try that and see how I feel. Maybe it'll help me. And actually it did. So over the years, that has become one of my favorite in my toolbox, because when you take adaptogens, your body regulates itself. You're providing the nutrients and the stuff that you need to make your own hormones, to balance your own hormones. That's basically what it does. All right. So clearing the brain fog naturally, you're going to balance your hormones naturally. That's number one. Number two, improving your sleep is a big important part of that. Optimizing your nutrition, reducing stress or dealing with your stress in a different way, and supporting brain function. So let's take a look at those factors. Brain fighting nutrients. We measure the B vitamins, and the salmon is a good source of that. There's a lot of whole grains, some dairy products. All of those things have high B. Like I said, you'll get that on your handout. Omega-3s in the fatty fish, in your nuts and seeds, very important. I had a doctor in my chiropractic school that had rheumatoid arthritis before he became a teacher there. And one thing that he did was start eating canned mackerel, tuna, and different things that were high in omega-3 every day for lunch. That was one of the things that he changed. And he was able to completely reverse his condition. Now, if you already have deformities, it's not going to correct all that, but it can reverse the disease. Magnesium is really good for sleep and stress resilience, and that's very important. And increasing your protein and healthy fat. I find that most women especially don't eat enough protein, and it should be eaten throughout the day. I recommend like around 35 grams 3 times a day, so up to 90 to 100. You might even need more if you're very active and you're doing a lot of exercise because you're building muscle. All right, next slide. Sleep and brain fog, fixing the root cause. If you have night sweats and cortisol spikes and poor melatonin production, which all I mentioned come from the depletion of estrogen, when you start improving all of the diet and lifestyle that we've already talked about, that's going to help a lot. Now, if to take something before you go to bed, magnesium can be very helpful, especially magnesium taurate. But that will really help with calming your brain. Calming herbs. So here's a whole list of them. The passion flower, sleepy time tea, melatonin is a hormone that helps with our sleep. Valerian root, L-theanine, lavender oil. Sometimes I'll put some on my chest and you can just breathe it in. And chamomile. You can get one of those eye pillows that have lavender oil in it, or put a little drop of lavender oil. A lot of different ways to get that scent that helps to calm your brain. Now, one thing I discovered pretty recently that has been very helpful, if you're someone who checks your phone at night, put it on bedtime mode so that it grays it out. There's no color, no blue light that stimulates your brain and keeps it awake. And it also does some interesting things where it can measure your snoring, so you can see if you may be suffering from sleep apnea, which is a very serious issue in midlife, and measures coughing and snoring. And you can look on the days and see how you did on those things. And it'll tell you how long you slept, and some of them actually will tell you how well you slept, like what stage of sleep you were in. I don't know if you have to wear something on you for that, but definitely look into bedtime mode on your phone. So our daily brain fog reset plan, we need to hydrate. That's another thing. Good brain function needs water. if you've ever seen someone that has been outdoors and maybe suffering from starting some heat stroke kind of symptoms, their brain doesn't work very well because they have lost too much water at one time. So definitely keeping hydrated. Eating nutrient-dense foods, which we talked about. Managing your stress daily. So these are things you need to do every day, and moving your body every day to increase your blood flow and oxygen to the brain. So movement does everything. It helps balance in your hormones. It helps keep your muscles strong. It keeps your joints healthy, and it also helps with brain fog. So many different improvements with just a little bit of movement. So what we've learned so far today is we reviewed the causes of brain fog in menopause and midlife, how our hormones and our lifestyle impacts that brain function, and what are some of the key holistic strategies that we can use right now to restore mental clarity. So that's just the beginning, and it's one piece of the puzzle, I like to say. So imagine if you could have all of the pieces together in one place, and that's what we're going to give you a brief look at today. So we have this proprietary course and coaching program called Holistic Strategies for Eternal Youth, Midlife, and Beyond. We're talking about women that are 45 plus. So these are some of the topics that we do within the course: nourish and thrive, eating for energy and balance and in midlife, beyond hot flashes, managing pain, chronic pain, thyroid health, awakening within, a gentle guide to midlife spirituality and renewed purpose in life. The breath of life, unlocking health through proper breathing. That's one of the reasons a lot of us feel very stressed, is because we're not breathing properly. And we have a little course on that. Mastering your midlife metabolism, smart strategies for weight balance. I've had a number of patients that have struggled so hard to lose weight, even when their hormones seem to be balanced, and they've gone to personal trainers and still stubborn weight not coming off. So there are certain things that we can recommend based on your diet, your lifestyle, and balancing your hormones in a different way, more holistically, that really can help you master the metabolism. Moving with purpose. We talked about the power of exercise, but how much cardio do you really need? How do you stretch? What do we need to do for stretching to keep our joints healthy? What about doing weight program? Because you need to keep your bones strong. Osteopenia and osteoporosis become very prevalent in midlife, and exercise can be one of your tools to prevent that. And there's so much more. 12 full courses within the program. And today, for just participating in our program today, we're going to give you 50% off the course and coaching for today only. So check it out. We're going to give you the brain fog recovery tool and diet. And if you want to be the healthiest, happiest, pain-free version of yourself, check out the course, download your brain fog decoder tool, and we hope to see you again soon. Ready to take the next step? Click on the link to look at the course and download your tool. I forgot to mention the course comes with group coaching, so you'll actually be part of our community and participate in group calls where you can ask questions, and we learn different techniques, some of the self-healing techniques that we've talked about in here, as well as interactive through doing homework assignments and doing quizzes. We're not going to grade you. It's not like going to school, but it does help you retain the information. So I hope you have a fantastic day and that you've enjoyed our Brain Fog Masterclass.